What is up, everyone? I really feel like now's a good time to just sort of talk about something that people just you see a lot of, but you don't really pay attention to. Trash. All right. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I've never really been an environmental guy. I never really look, save our planet, stuff like that, because it just never really dawned on me specifically the dangers of having a dirty planet can actually be. But the thing that will always sort of trip me out is it's trash. I honestly 100 like I really do believe that recycling is definitely a thing that we should probably incorporate more of our focus into because we as Americans have a lot of trash, man. Like we have a lot of trash, a lot of stuff that we can actually be using. I want to say America utilizes a lot of plastic, and I think one of the things that really kind of when people think of plastic, they think of like plastic bags or the see-through stuff, or basically just a film. They don't really think of a substance as much as they think of like a filmy thing that they could just rip and destroy within the course of like a few minutes or whatever. But people forget that plastic is malleable, and it's and it's hard. It can be hardened, almost like harder than a brick or something, So it's just weird to me how plastic is kind of like this forever polymer thing that you're supposed to be able to use forever, and the things that require, you know, things that should be able to last forever are not being made by plastic. Like, for example, the for example, car tires. Car tires. Car tires, one of the few things that probably it's like. But then again, you do that, and tires will go out of business. You know what I mean? You can't really have you can't really have the tire industry going out of business, which is dumb in my opinion. But it's just that we have all this plastic, you know what I mean? And the only proper way I could see plastic being utilized outside of being trash is being fed to mushrooms, because mushrooms they biodegrade anything. You could literally mushrooms on a long term basis can ultimately just sort of destroy anything harmful, because at the end of the day, mushroom is the fruit of death. So you give them something that, I mean, what's going to kill a mushroom? Have you ever seen a mushroom dying before? Fruit of death. Also, that's a cool name for something. Fruit of death. I'm gonna have to keep that. And yeah, I because my whole one time at work at my job, I sweep up the parking lot. Like one of the last things I do before I actually get started, to do my actual job is, I'm the opening guy. So the last thing I do for opening is I clean up the parking lot, and there's always an abundance of trash. Not an abundance. It's not that bad. You know what I mean? But it's just you could tell that there are people that go to to the place after it closes for the day, and chill out in the parking lot or maybe eat some food, every so often. Oddly enough, no condoms. Oddly enough, that's it's trippy to me how, because normally I expect normally when I'm walking, when I take my walks to places, I normally see a condom on the ground just anywhere. And the first thing that goes through my mind is, how bold do you have to be to have sex in this specific spot, somewhere in this spot or around this spot, right? And you get done and you just keep on walking. It can't be somebody with a car, because who's gonna stop their car in the middle of the road to have sex on the sidewalk? Which is a weird thing to do. Just looking back, man, my hair is doing that Miz thing from professional wrestling. I do not like it, but I don't want to cut it. Okay, but yeah, that's just something that I find really, kind of weird. It's but it's weird that I would find, normally if you go anywhere, you walk around in any neighborhood, you're gonna come across at least one or two condoms on the ground somewhere. you know. But like at my job, surprisingly, like I'll come across a couple, children's diapers, maybe a shoe, one shoe, but no condoms. But yeah, it just made me think though, like it's weird because if you really kind of like just throw it out there, like there's some. First off, you can reuse trash. That's the thing that stresses me out about that. You can reuse trash. Mm. And it's like why not just do that? Honestly, it will sort of like it will keep certain industries in business. It'll actually work towards everybody's favor. The planet will be healthier, things will be cleaner, which is like if you go to any other country, there's not nearly as much trash. You know, Meanwhile in America, we just take a candy bar. Like, come on, man. Consideration here. It's the little things. Current events. I want to go ahead and take this time to point out real quick. My thoughts on abortion is pretty simple. I'm a dude, so it's none of my business. I personally don't know anything about abortion to despise it as much as I do. But growing up Southern, I do not like the idea of a dead child, which is why I'm not impregnating any women that want to go get an abortion. As far as on a national scale, one thing I've learned about conservatives is that like their idea is simply, we don't like it, so it should be illegal. That's not how I think. I think I don't like something, I'm just not going to be around it. That's my logic. Well, you don't like conservatives and you're always talking about them because of the fact that they rule the nation, man. Come on. I mean, if conservatives didn't have nearly as much power as they do, I would never mention them again. Just saying. And it's just bizarre that there's this idea. Like, my whole thing is, like I said, abortion is not necessarily, top of my priorities list as far as what I should be worried about. But the thing is that, like, this whole idea that you basically, like, heaven forbid, a woman gets impregnated during the sexual assault. It just doesn't want to have the child of this monster that she has to ultimately see at least once or twice, and just be like, what happens when a mother hates their kid, right? If a mother doesn't want to have a kid, then they're going to ultimately grow to hate that kid. There's not going to be any love for that kid. You basically, like, you're killing the kid anyway, ultimately. Because if a mother doesn't care about the kid's going to get neglected, but, the mother might get, like, driven off, and the kid might get put into the foster care system. And for some strange reason, the foster care system either does one or two things. It either takes care of the kid for the rest of its life, or it brings it to a family that's a regular gamble between terrible people and decent people. So there's that. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not saying I'm pro-abortion. I'm just anti-abused kids. You know. Imagine getting something you don't want. You know. Imagine being forced to get something that you don't want. I mean, you wouldn't want that. Why should they have to have it? Rest in peace to George Perez, by the way. I hope I got his name right, because I wanted to say Jose Perez, and I know that that's terrible. But like I read comic books, and I only read like maybe a handful of the credits. But the only reason why I read the credits is because I'm trying to figure out like if there's anybody there that I personally recognize, because I know a few artists and stuff like that. So, but it's like, it's like looking into George Perez is like history. The dude's stories are going to live on long after he's gone. He's made his mark in the world in a positive and like non-threatening. He made his point doing something that was in inspirational, and it's just yeah, it's weird when they die, man. And like you know me, I don't really like pointing out certain people's deaths, but this one, like, as being a comic book fan that I'm slowly becoming, it's weird to know that some of these legendary historical figures in comic book history were still around and are currently now dying. This video is long, and I apologize. Man. Man, that's a lot of crazy, but a lot of crazy stuff's been going on though. Like, I try my best not to talk about the Ukraine too much because I don't know anything about international affairs. But I'm trying to figure out stuff about international affairs using my Wondrium account. Yeah, buddy. Listen, I have access to like just an entire compendium of just information. Like, they're just basically lectures on the go, college lectures on the go, which I like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't do well in college. I don't do well, in institutions where I have to kind of ultimately interact with other people. And it's not because I'm a mean introvert or anything like that. It's just because I naturally find myself competing with someone. And if I think I'm competing with somebody, I immediately think that I'm losing to that person. I don't need to know this person's grades. All I need to know is we're in competition and I'm failing right now. And that just will put a damper on my mood and just make me think I'm not good enough for this. And I mean, it's really easy to say that like, oh, I don't want to do this school thing anymore because I'm not as good as that guy. And that's just something that I have to ultimately overcome that before I can ever consider going back to school. First off, I have to figure out what I want to do when I go back to school, because some schools don't offer up stuff that I know that I'm at least moderately good at. Like, I know I can do the film. I know I can do like the arts. I know I can. I think I can act. But like, schools nowadays, they're becoming more and more based off of certain concepts. So there's that. Like, they're becoming based more off of like, like the what I was doing before when I was in school was like business, and before that it was, computer security, intelligence, something like that. Basically, like, checking computer stuff for hackers, stuff like that. So it's just like it's becoming less creative and more intuitive, which is dope. But like, I'm not an intuitive person. At least I don't think I am. But while I'm using these Wondrium courses, I'm reteaching myself chemistry, and it's like, whoa, wait, I remember that. I remember that too. So, maybe that'll change. I don't know. But I do know that I do better working on my own without being told to do essays, without being part of group projects or things like that. I can just sit here, listen to the lecture, pause, take notes, and just keep going that way. I call it independent study. That's just me. Oh my God, I think I overstated my welcome here. I know this video is long and I apologize, but that's about it. Trash can be fixed. Rest in peace, George Perez. Comic books are still awesome, and I really did just forget the last thing. I just got finished talking about it. Come on, and Wondrium is dope. All right, that's it though. Love and peace. Y'all have a good one. Be safe out there, and hydrate. Also, a little bit of advice. You don't have to take it, but look up your family history. Look up your genealogy. There's a lot of stories that we always hear, but there's no better story than yours. Ooh, I should definitely end up with